Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Find Your Calm. I am really thrilled about this because we have been talking the whole time before this episode even started. And it's really special to me because the person that we have here today, when we first moved to Dubai, was one of the first person to believe in my vision of what we created here. She a sight unseen said yes to what we were creating, and we've built a really beautiful partnership. So I want to welcome Alicia Tillman. She is a movement instructor, a certified yoga instructor, has worked with athletes all across the world, and has done some amazing work with us. She helped us to develop this really beautiful program that we've put on here in Dubai, where we showcase, it's kind of an aromatherapy full-on experience, and she was a teacher to help bring it to life. Thank you, Alicia, for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
So we want to dive right into your background.
Boom, let's go.
So what got you started into being a movement specialist, wellness, all of that?
All of that. I've been an athlete my whole life. I played basketball, ran track, did all the things. Mm-hmm. And once I got hurt and realized that I am no longer going to play basketball professionally, and I also realized how much the WNBA paid at the time. And I was like, I could just get an entry-level oil job, but it's fine. I decided to go into more of like the training. I was still involved with basketball, hosting leagues and working and still playing and doing a lot of things. Went to corporate world. That was cool. And then I realized that something was like pulling me away from that. And I wasn't really fully happy. I used to collect sneakers. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up working in Nike, Reebok, Adidas, more of the corporate level of that. Mm-hmm. And then one day I was in a yoga class and I just was kind of having this mental moment. Mm-hmm. And something was telling me that this isn't what I should be doing. Mm. And so as work got a little bit harder and more stressful, I remember going to yoga and I brought like 3 of my guy friends that were playing basketball at the time. One was playing football. And in the NCAA, one of them was a professional. And I remember being back at the back of this yoga class. Mind you, we're the only probably Black people in the class. And I made them come because I bet them. And they're like with their Nike socks and Jordan shorts on. And one of them had his phone ringer still on that played horrible music in the middle of the class. And then I laid for Shavasana and it came very clear of like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Mm. And I thought about it, and it's during my career of playing and my career of being outside of it, yoga was always prevalent, mm-hmm. but never in necessarily our spaces.
Correct.
Right. And so if you look at most of basketball, professional basketball and professional football, most of them are us. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I found very, very, very amazing in the transformation that had happened for me mentally and physically. Mm. And coming from being an athlete, I started with like hot yoga mm-hmm. and Ashtanga, more of like the more stronger, powerful things. Yeah. And I was never in that for mental relief, mental anything. Yeah. It was just kind of all happened. Yeah. And so when I realized that, I was thinking clearer, my anger, I wasn't as angry as I was before. It was a big shift for me. Mm. And I was like, we need this. We need this, and we need it at a high level. Yeah. And so then I literally was working out at a strength and conditioning place, and I was like, hey, I think I want to teach yoga for athletes. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. After like the next day. So literally I quit my job literally the week afterwards. and was like, this is what I'm going to do.
So it's very immediate.
Immediate. It was like, okay, this is when you hear him talking and it's clear, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to listen.
Right.
Right. Because it was never anything more clear than that. I felt like in The Lion King when Mufasa was talking to Simba and he was like, hey, Simba. Yeah, right. It was like that. I believe that like higher powers either sound like Morgan Freeman or
James Earl Jones.
Yeah, James Earl Jones. That's it. So when I started doing this, I was like, okay, how do I do this? I went and got certified to teach yoga. And I literally started off with putting it on the board, yoga for athletes. What do I need to do? So I started with that, started working at athletic training facilities. I went and as I found out, yoga's kind of one-sided in that space. And so I went and got more certifications for strength conditioning and more like my PT certification, all of these different things to help me that I didn't know I was building all of my like my arsenal of things in and be able to eventually put them all together. And so then I started off seasons, which are pretty much the summer months, because mostly everybody goes back to their teams in September and then they're done like right after the Super Bowl in February, or basketball, it's a little bit towards the summer. So started doing that, and turns out it was well received because I did it the way I wanted to do it.
Yes.
And so people were starting to get yoga teachers. They were starting to see the things at the same time. A lot of people were against it. So
really?
Coming from Texas, like you know, Texas football's thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Don't you
mess
talk
with
about
Texas.
Don't mess with Texas football. And so you got the guys that have been training and coaching for like 20, 30 years, and they're like, this yoga, this breathing, what? What? You need to lift weights, you need to power, blah, 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 right? So getting up against that and going up against that, and then being a Black female in that space is already interesting enough.
Right.
And so when I started to kind of present it and learning from my marketing and my PR experience, how can I be able to make this a digestible experience for them that's going to make it seem like they're winning and I'm kind of, or maybe they're at the forefront of innovation, right? So then I started doing that. I started getting high school teams. I got college teams working with the University of Houston, working with the Houston Dynamo, the first soccer or football team. Worked with the Texans, the Rockets, and because of the people that I already knew, and I was able to do that and do it in a way that athletes were very comfortable doing it with me, right? So I would take the whale music out and put some put some little bit of UGK in there, take some of that, and it was a give and take. So therefore, I wasn't like starting off with, we're gonna meditate for like an hour. It was like, let's do a couple things. Everybody just sit up, close your eyes for a second, and it was digestible.
Right.
And so then I started seeing the actual changes, and the way I went about it was preaching, or at least going towards the longevity factor in professional sports. And because then I started noticing as I was there, and I worked with sports science and sports medicine and all these different things, and I would kind of just be observant. And I noticed that they were quick to medicate and operate on players, which if you know anything about professional sports, anytime a knife touches you, your value starts to go down.
That's how, the same thing as a woman, right?
Yes, right? Except, they be doing Botox and they be, but your value goes down. So if you have if you have an injury and it's enough that they feel you need to have surgery, then your team's gonna start devaluing you a little bit. And then at the same time, your recovery time and all of that. And if you ever think about it, whatever team you're on, there's going to be about 100 new people coming out the next season that are coming out of college or they're coming out of whatever. And it's a revolving door of opportunity. You got to defend
your position.
And you have to do that.
Yeah.
And so luckily I was, being in Houston, I was surrounded by some of the greats. I worked for Adrian Peterson. I was working with Andre Johnson. This is like heyday Texans.
Wow.
Arian Foster, Brian Cushing, and just like some of the all-time awesome players, at least for the Texans. And seeing that these guys were getting older, and what do they do? And like, what is the athlete's lifespan? Typically, like I'm 36 right now. 36. Most athletes don't make it to that.
I need you to like take whatever you got and put it in a bottle. 36.
It's called yoga, meditation, and things we can't talk about. I'm just playing. But it's it was something that was missing. And the way that I could do it, the way that I was doing it, had a very, very great response.
Yeah.
And so that's when I kind of knew that I was in the right area.
Wow.
And so it was kind of FUBU for us, by
us. I love
right?
it. I love it.
It was good. And then it took me to more places that I've ever thought imaginable.
So you had all of this. You have this amazing career
Yeah.
in Texas. Oh, okay. Well, we can edit. We can edit. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yes.
You had this amazing career in Texas.
Yes.
But at some point, you decide
To move.
I'm going to take all of that and go to India?
Oh, so I moved to Los Angeles first.
To LA first. Okay.
Yeah. So I've lived all over for different jobs and opportunities.
Yeah.
But my main base for at least the Yoga for Athletes was Texas. And of course, Texas it's big.
It's big.
It's big, and there's a city that, especially Houston, has almost every team of every sport.
Yep.
Or I can go to Dallas or something like that. But what called me to Texas, called me to Los Angeles. I was working in Los Angeles back and forth. I would go there with some athletes sometimes and do some like contract work. And I ended up during COVID working with some athletes, which was amazing because that was the longest I'd ever got to work with athletes on a continuous basis.
During COVID.
That
makes
because
sense.
now, like, the world stops because you're trying to put professional athletes and put them in a full schedule that everything else that they have to go do, all the other off-season things, like you're one of 6 workouts.
Right.
Like, and you have to understand that, and you have to understand the time frame. At the same time, he could also just want to go party and go do whatever and be like, skip these sessions.
Right.
Right. So I finally was able to have about 3 to 4 athletes that I had for a minimum of 8 weeks. So I actually got to test out how well my actual programming is, how does it work, what are you able to see the results for, and at the time frames I was able to have them, and it was amazing to the point that I was like, okay, I think I need a new change, and they asked me if I wanted to come work with Mamba, like Kobe Bryant's Academy, in Los Angeles, and so I was like, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
So moved to Los Angeles, and I moved in with one of my players who's like my little brother now, Obo. He moved in a house with 25-year-olds, and I'm like 33 at the time.
Oh, that had to be fun.
It was fun, but at the same time, it was great because all the mental work that I have done has prepared me for that.
True testing ground.
Right. And so I was able to work there, and LA was a different beast because it was like Houston on steroids. Houston is in a small place. So LA was much more there's 2 of every team. There's 2 of everything. And it's just much more of a pit stop for people, especially in the summer, because most of the athletes, they would come over there for the summer and train. Beautiful weather, much more stuff to do.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity. And the connections I got in Los Angeles were crazy.
Yeah.
Because people come to Texas because it's cheaper. Yeah. But they were coming to LA just for the experience and just the higher level and quality of training.
Yeah.
I did that. I ended up training most of the Rams. We ended up getting a Super Bowl out of it.
Nice.
Bro.
Resume.
Bro. I remember when I moved there, the only people, because it was closed for regular people, it was only open for professional athletes at the time during COVID. Yeah. And we had like the Brooklyn Nets were there. Had a couple friends on that team.
Crazy.
Like the Houston Rockets would come every once in a while. The Rams were there. It was just, LA was a whirlwind in that space.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I needed something to fill my cup. Like, I feel like my cup was running empty.
Yes.
And I was giving all of this great, and I'm great because I'm a beacon for that wellness and mental, mindful, all of these things for a lot of different people. But I felt that I was getting drained and not necessarily replenished. So that's when I was like, something's going on, and I'm feeling I'm being called somewhere. And then my mom always said this to me because she worked for United Airlines my whole life. So we fly free all the time. Yeah. And she's one of the people that I'll just get up and go. If I want to go, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to Jamaica. I'm going to go this. I'm going to go here.
You want a sister?
Yep. You can marry my brother, but I don't even think you want them problems.
I don't think he would like that.
Yeah, no. I don't think he want the problems. But she was always one that's like, well, just go, because then you can just come back. Yeah. Like, simple. Yeah. And it was like, you would expect a little bit more hesitation from your mom to be like, wait, and she's like, yeah, go. You can come back. And I was like, all right. And then I literally got a one-way ticket to Rishikesh, India.
No way.
And was doing teacher trainings and then ended up working and facilitating teacher trainings and traveling all along India and doing all of the holistic / fun / adventurous and it was so freeing because it was for the first time ever I really had there's no need for my phone. And that's if you've never experienced that, that's a different level of freedom.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the process of that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of unlearning.
And it's like, I remember having my phone have my phone with me all the time. And I was just, one day I was like, ain't nobody gonna call me. Nobody gonna call me right now. If I've done enough work that I've been able to, when I did leave, I made sure everything was completely taken care of. I put the right people in place. I had studios in LA, studio in Texas. All of these things were taken care of. And I had to for the first time, trust that I did all the things that I could do. And now let's be here 100% for me.
Yes.
And that took weeks. Girl,
I can imagine. But being present like that, just had to be at another level of
it's a different experience.
Oh my God.
When you realize and you're just here for it. And I was never been the one to take pictures. Mm-hmm. I'm always been the one that kind of just experiences it, period.
Yeah.
But this was a different level of just being so present because of social media and different things. And then I had moments where I felt like I was missing out on things. You have the FOMO because now you've been gone long enough that everybody's having life moments and things are starting to go on. And, you know, oh, you said that you were going to go to that concert with me, but that concert's already it's tomorrow. You're in India, you're dealing and you're trying to stay glued in with people on social media. Then you realize it's instead, it was a moment I was passing some canyon in India and it opened up into this beautiful scene. And I remember looking up for a second and I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And I looked back down and then I was like, wait, time out.
Yeah.
Put this down, be present with this moment. Because it's all the things I would preach about and talk about, but it's a lot easier to talk it than it is to walk it.
It is, especially when you're a CEO.
Yes.
And you're everybody's depending on me.
And you know, and I made sure I was y'all, don't call me unless you need me. And I've always preached the things to my assistants, to people underneath me, anybody that I've been a leader of or been in some type of leadership position. I always say, don't come with just problems, come with some solutions. Mm-hmm. And then as long as I was teaching people and showing people the mindful way and the different perspectives that I would like for people to consider, which I never really realized how much all of that was actually impacting my leadership skills.
Yes.
My ability to negotiate, my ability to understand people and to meet people where they are.
Yes.
And that's been a lot of things that I've been teaching, subconsciously teaching.
Right.
And now when I got to India and I was in a Buddhist monastery and I remember standing there and I was like, bro, there's all the things that we make our life harder than it has to be. Mm-hmm. And so it's you can choose and everything. You have a choice in everything. You can choose to make it as hard as you want it to be. Yeah. And the word I always am in love with is equanimity. Have a sense of flowing like water. Mm-hmm. Water can ripple, it can tide, it can be still, it can be everything, but water is water. Just like Bruce Lee said, if you put water in a teapot, it's the shape of the teapot. If you put water in a bottle, there's so much more things, but it's the water doesn't change what it is. It just may change the location, it'll adapt, but it still can be still at any point in time as long as it's not. Yeah. It's like a lake, if it's not bothered, it's good. Yeah. And that's what I've ultimately strived to be. Mm-hmm. And in India, it was very present of that's where the real peace is. Wow. Because I think I've just done all of the things. Yes. I set out everything. When I remember when I first quit my job, I wrote down goals. What do I want to do? Yep. I remember I said I wanted to move to California, and I gave myself 5 years. I did it in 3. Mm-hmm. I said I wanted to, all these different goals that I've redone multiple times. I've kind of did them all. Yeah. And now that I was at a point of well, let's try something else. And actually, let's not have a plan. Huh. So when I I booked the flight, I had no idea how long I was going to stay there, how long I was going to do anything, how long I was going to be over here.
Really?
And I just was like, I'm just going to, actually, I literally said, just let God do it. I'm just going to let God, hey, I followed you thus far.
Yeah.
You've never led me astray.
Yeah.
You're clearly giving me some type of sign that something else needs to happen or I'm supposed to be experience or learn something else.
Right.
And I literally was like, I'm just going to let, whatever you want to do, man, I'm going to let you do it. Took me all through India.
How did you emotionally like disconnect? Because going from like being a CEO where everything is in order, you got a plan, you got to strategize, to saying, you know what, I'm going to let go of a plan. Like there's not many people that I know that I can't do that.
Yeah. Luckily it's like what also happened. I was with my boyfriend and we broke up for a little bit, which helps. Nothing better than a ruined relationship. Which we ended up getting much closer when I went to India, which was great. But I did that. I felt just like I have done everything the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And like me going to LA was a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And it worked out immaculately.
Right.
And me doing all of these things that I've done has been just me being like, hey, this is your plan, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how long this is going to happen. I don't have any kids. I broke up with my boyfriend. And so now I'm like, and my lease was up.
You were like,
so if you, all those three things,
nothing tying you
get
down
together, it's like Captain Planet. We got all these things and now it's going to come together. And I literally just was like, this is opportunity. I don't have any kids. I have nobody responsible for me. Everything's running the way I need it to run.
Right.
So this is opportunity for me to completely step away and just be free for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a different perspective and then I can come back. Like that was the
plan.
The thought. Like Dubai was literally only the stop that I had to go to get to a smaller airplane to go to India. Never thought. I literally packed maybe 2 outfits for if I stop in Dubai.
Okay, so you did India for how long?
I did India for about 6 months.
And then did you come to Dubai? Or go
I got
home?
a job here. I got called here for a job.
Happened. Okay.
So one of my employees at the studio I have in Los Angeles knows the lady who runs a fitness facility, a couple of fitness places out here. And they were looking to expand digital markets and as well as going to different cities and different things like that. And what they were needing for somebody is to help organize and stuff that I have a lot of experience doing. And so we were connected and literally had the hardest Zoom call ever because I was in India and there was no power. There was no power. So I had 2 phones. One was I'm using the Wi-Fi. I'm using a hotspot to connect to the other one, but that was about to die. And so I had a battery and I'm just like trying to, hello, yes. And let me just say this, blah, 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 and then we get disconnected. So I ended up getting recruited coming out here. And then I was like, you can use Apple Pay. I'll stay for a little bit. I'll see what happens.
I'll see what happens.
Like I was saying, I could always go back to India, which India was so peaceful.
Yeah.
And then I also had the moment of like, you also have things to pay for back home. So
you have to go back
you
to
have
work.
to, like, eventually you're gonna have to. You're fine for a while, and then the currency exchange rate from India to, so if I'm making money in India, it's $1 is 80 rupees. So I was losing on that one. I was winning in India.
Yeah, but
I was balling out in India. I was like, hey, how much is this?
Dang.
Round of it on me. Everybody, you get some. I was Oprah. You get some. What you want? You want some chapati? Get you some chapati. Let's go. Mutton on me. And then I realized, I was like, oh,
wait a minute.
you're going to have to get some money. You have nothing coming in. So then I was like, okay, well, let's work in Dubai. Let's see what it's about. Hated it.
You hated it?
Trash. Hated it. When I first got here, I was like, fake Vegas.
I imagine coming from a very peaceful place, though.
Right?
Like you're in a whole different state.
I'm coming off the plane like, and immediately traffic was like,
yep.
And
messing with
like,
your energy.
It kind of gets you back. And then I was like, okay, and I never really settled. And I remember talking to Anthony, who was my boyfriend at the time. And we got really close again in India because I realized like, that's the person, like, when you realize that that's the person. And he realized it too, which is great. And we were talking here and I was just kind of unhappy here because it was like, I was sensing the troubles I've had in Houston, the troubles I've had in Los Angeles, and I felt that those little moments were occurring again. Not necessarily in the mindfulness or the yoga aspect, in the business aspect.
Yes.
Where it was the partners that I've had, the people that I've had necessarily that I've had to be in my corner, and I've had interesting relationships with partners that I can only thank yoga and meditation and all of these holistic practices I do for getting me through those things.
Yeah, because
The level of like, and so when I start to see, which I feel like that was the ultimate test, when I came here and I started to feel a little of those things coming back up, I knew that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I immediately went because I was in India and I was so happy and I was having these moments, but I knew I needed some type of financial whatever.
Correct.
So I took the job that would bring me back into the frustrations I was having.
Yeah.
And then luckily there was a 90-day clause.
Yeah.
And I made sure there was a 90-day clause.
Yep.
And I decided after the 90 days, I was like, we're not going backwards. You're here for some type of reason. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're not going back and making the mistakes that we did. And we're not going back to being unhappy, and we're not going back to being stressed.
Yeah.
We're not going to go back to do that, because what did we do all this for?
Yes.
Did I literally move around the world to find the same set of stress I could have stayed in?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
and it made better. And I was like, and I was close to my family there. So if I'm going to do that, and if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it completely my way.
Yep.
So literally into the contract, the next week went, established my own company, paid for all the things, established my own company, all the things.
Yeah.
And now running it and doing it, it took probably until maybe like last month to get it to the point where I'm making more money than I've ever made.
Wow.
And more opportunities. And now I'm actually like moving forward with opening things out here and doing what I want to do.
Yes.
And it's now like things are coming naturally. The universe is moving in a way that has presented itself, like by us meeting and just by having all these different things. And one person that I didn't think was that big of a deal somehow connects me to, and that's where I feel like I'm supposed to be here. And so now, instead of me like resenting like Dubai because it's similar to those, then it's like, well, now let's do it the way that you want to do it. You've learned all of these things.
Right.
You're not new to this.
Yep.
And it's so funny because everybody else that comes here, it's like everybody's restarting. It makes me feel like college.
Yes. It's like, oh man, I was doing this and such, and now I'm starting my company.
I'm back, right? You can reinvent yourself and all these things like that. But I think, and I've only heard it in the last 2 months, is that something's the people, my friends that have met me, because they met me straight off India, right? My people that came here.
Okay.
That's a different.
Yeah, it's a different Alicia.
You're meeting Alicia in the complete lack of anything.
Yeah.
/ fully like encompassed in the mental aspect of everything. Coming here, then trying to figure out my life here and all the things. And now for the first time, my people that I know, they're like, you're looking good. You're comfortable. You seem different. And then I remember I said, I'm comfortable. I'm about to like, not comfort in the space of like not
complacent, right?
Yes, but just in the space of like, okay.
Now we're ready to rock and roll.
Right. I'm not dressing for just from going space to space.
Right.
But now it's like I can put a little bit of myself into it. I can feel like myself. I can talk like myself.
Yes.
And people starting to realize a little bit, oh, you're not, I thought you were just a yoga teacher. And I'd be like, okay, cool.
Right.
You want to say that? And they'd be like, oh, well, you can go teach at this gym. I was like, bro, I'll buy that gym before I, and, like, not to be like that, but it's also just like,
Put some respect on my name.
Right. But it's like, and I'm never one of those people that's going to talk the talk.
Right.
I'm like, I'm a walk the walk.
Right.
Or under promise, over deliver.
Yes.
Right. So therefore now people are kind of starting seeing, and now things are happening. And now I'm just like, all right, cool. And I've always had this phrase of, what if it ends up better than you could ever imagine? And I think since leaving LA, before moving to LA, before even just starting with the yoga thing, that's always been like a phrase that I'll come back when I have the moments of getting scared.
Yep.
Because you know it's real when you get
you get scared.
When you
yes.
I don't know how this.
It's a lot of money.
all right, we'll figure it out.
Right.
Like, you know, and I think it's, if somebody just says that and they can ultimately make themselves believe it, then the universe will ultimately move in a way.
Yes.
Because what if you can always think of the negative things. What if I so.
Yep.
And I told my dad, he was like, you're so brave. You're just so like, because he always wanted me to be he was an oil guy. Right. He was like, and I think our parents grew up in a different time.
Correct.
Where it was like they were the first generation to really go to college. Or they were, this is, you get the job, you marry the lady, or you marry the man, you get the house, you have the kids, you do the thing, you retire, live your life.
We did all that before 30. And then it was like, what's next?
So I haven't had the kids part, but outside of that, I've done the things. And I remember my dad was so against when I quit my job. He was like when I got first into this, he was like, I said, Dad, I'm gonna do yoga for athletes. And he said, that's the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard. Look me dead in my face without not even a switch, not even not a baby, not a,
Did you think about this?
Did you? Nah, he said, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And walked off like,
You're like, but Dad.
All right, yeah, okay, we need to worry about her. And so, but then every moment, and I remember, and I think I can remember my moments through like my dad's reactions. And when I did yoga, yoga was some new thing for him. And so then I'm like training, like the moment he got to meet Adrian Peterson. And my dad's a football player. He played football. So bro, he every Sunday, so-and-so. And it's like, well, now I got guys that know me, and he's coming places to pick me up from lunch, and they're like, your daughter's bro.
Whole different world, right?
Right? I was like, it's stupid, still stupid, huh? Still dumb, huh? Right? Hosting yoga events. And I remember I hosted events I rented out an empty airplane hangar in Texas, in Houston, and had 800 people come do yoga.
Wild.
Right? And to like hip hop music too.
That is the best.
It was called Trap Yoga and Tacos. Hilarious. And then my dad came in and he was like, and every time, it's like, I feel like every stage of my life, he's just like,
just leveling up.
Right. And he's like, you moved in. You're going to move to Dubai. He's like, you have a thing for expensive cities. I was like, I am bougie. But he's just like, in every level. And I think that's kind of where I do my check-ins to just talk to my dad. He's just like, oh, so you moved from India. You just went on this. Now you moving to Dubai. Came and visited me. And he's just like,
okay.
Hey, he's like, where did you get these ideas from? Where did you get like the thought? He's like, I never would have thought to do any of these things.
I think what you said right there is important.
Yes.
Because there's a generation of us that are all doing the same thing. And our parents are like, I don't know how to raise you anymore.
Like, what?
What can I tell you?
Right? And I blame my mom a lot for that. Because she's always, like I said, she's been the one that's like, go.
Just do it.
Just go do it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Where you want to go? Let's figure it out. I'll come visit you.
Yeah.
Like I moved here in September, October. My parents came.
Man.
Came to visit. They were like, oh no, come on. Let's see it. Help me find an apartment. Help me do all these things. And I think like, even though the resistance of my father in things of that he's not familiar with.
Yeah.
Because everything I'm doing is something that didn't exist while he was.
Well, yeah, growing up.
Right. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute.
Yep.
And so my mom was like, yeah.
Go try it.
Go try it. And so like, go do it. Let's see what happens. And so I like to say this, and somebody asked me the other day, and it's like, what keeps you going? And I was like, we have an option. You have two options. You can live an ordinary life or an extraordinary life. Mm-hmm. And the only difference between those two is that little extra at the beginning.
Yep.
So it's going to be a little bit of extra you got to do, a little bit of extra something. And I think because both of us sitting here talking to each other in a podcast studio in Dubai. I think it's turning out. I think it's working out pretty well.
Given that we're both from Houston.
Right. like the only other big Houston person come out here, Beyonce. What? And I remember Beyonce came out, I was like, man. And I hate to go on a tangent about Beyonce, but it's when I first moved here, her face was on some billboard or something. Mm-hmm. And I have a personal love and attachment to Beyonce more than most people. But coming from Houston, it's a different thing.
It is.
But it was just kind of like looking at her and seeing that she has a lot of things that nobody else was able to do, and she's been able to do.
Yep.
And it was just kind of like, psh, I could do that. Let me be the Beyonce in my own field.
Right.
Right. Let's do. And I preach that. I tell that people that I train, people that I work with, whatever that is, it's like there's no limitations unless you put them on yourself.
Exactly.
And I got kids. I got this. I got that. You only have kids. They're only be kids temporarily.
Right.
Bitches, they're gonna only lead your own lives, and then what you gonna do?
They know what you're gonna do. Right.
Right.
What's
so
your
it's
excuse
like,
then?
what do you do now? And like my mom now, mom and dad are both retired, and my dad will literally be fine wherever he goes with an iPad and a football game of some sort. He'll be fine. You could take him to the Eiffel Tower and put him at the very top of it, and he'll be like, whoa. Well,
It's nice.
Arkansas need a new quarterback this year. You know? And my mom is always one that she's like, well, I got nothing to do. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me go see my relatives here. Let's go here. And it's being a part of that support system and never really having limitations.
Yeah.
Or at least having one of them. Let's kind of defy the limitations a little bit. has made me who I am. And I think they wish it would transfer to my brother.
It's like we did the same thing. We made the same recipe. What's happening here?
Maybe I took it all out the womb. When I came out, I was like, just send me all of that. But he got the height, so he was like, because if I would have had the height, I'd have made reconsider this basketball thing a little bit more. But yeah, all of that to say is that I just want something different.
Yes.
And I think it's not earthly the way I can imagine it. So somebody else of a higher power has a lot more vision and a lot more understanding of what is actually possible. So if I could put my faith in that,
You good to go.
that's great.
Yeah.
And I think Dubai is a great place to do that.
I agree. I mean, and everything you said, just from a wellness perspective, this region is, because it's developing as we speak. Literally, new buildings are being opened.
Yeah.
And it's not just the UAE, it's Saudi.
Yeah.
It's North Africa.
Yeah.
It's growing in ways that the U.S. has already established itself. But people here are more receptive, I believe, to new ideas.
100%.
So it gives us opportunities without some of the systemic issues.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because here, I am a wellness entrepreneur. I am a CEO.
Yeah.
But I'm American.
Yeah.
And that's different. That hits different.
It's so much more interesting when Americans leave and come back out. You realize how strong and powerful you are.
Yes.
Especially Black Americans, when we leave outside, because we are in a construct that has almost been formed against us. Well, not almost, has been.
Yeah.
Right? And then no matter what we have overcome. We've always overcome. We've always done these things. And so to come outside, it's interesting to see how people perceive Americans.
Yes.
People how perceive Black Americans.
Correct.
And at the same time, I think it's not something that hinders us.
No.
And I think that's like the great part about it, is when leaving America, you realize that you're not just a Black American, or you're just like, in this system that's already been existed. We have the opportunity to create whatever we want. And me being Black is not going to be a problem about it.
Yes.
And actually it only makes it better. Because Black culture is something that has been, that travels around the world.
Yes.
Like,
Tim is always saying that.
It's
all the time.
Going to a gym in India. In like South India, in Rishikesh, right? Walk into a gym, they're playing Wiz Khalifa. They're playing like Diddy. They playing Drake. Drake is everywhere. Drake is the most racially ambiguous man
on the face
of this earth. Every culture claims Drake. I have to say this direct because I want you to understand. You go anywhere, they're like, Drake is one of us. No, all right, sure, whatever. He says Habibi. Oh my God. But it's so funny because Black culture, and then I moved into Dubai. I remember going to gyms. Go to gym and I see Russian dudes with throwback 1996 Olympic jerseys. He got a Charles Barkley jersey on. He got a hockey jersey on. So-and-so, they blasting nothing but like, you know, Future and everything in our culture. And you see girls with freestyle braids and all of these different things. And it's like,
where did I walk into?
Right, go to a club. I got a Russian girl, can't speak English, but sitting there rapping Lil Baby, like, bro, right? And it's so funny. It's like and they emulate what we are, and they really love what we've put out. And I think you don't really get to see it until you're so far away that you realize the reach that Black American culture has had.
Absolutely.
And why should I not be able to take advantage of that? And why should I not be able to have that cultural identity that I never really realized was super, super, like I realized, trust me, I love being Black. It's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of dangerous, but sometimes. But at the same time, it's never really, it can be misconstrued sometimes. And coming out here is just kind of like, it's really embraced culturally. And they embrace a lot of cultural differences, and they see a lot of the things that worked and didn't work, and they're not willing to like put money behind the things that work and also fix the things that was the problem of other cultures and ethnicities or cities, other things. And they're kind of like, I feel like they do their research and they're able to create solutions much faster.
Yes.
And so now it's like, it's an entrepreneurial playground.
Yeah, big time.
Like if this is one of the places, and like I said, I live in LA, live in New York, all these different things. This is one place, if you come here and you have a thought, a goal, an idea, in just casual passing, you can meet somebody that could help push you to the next level. You're like two degrees away from success.
Yep.
And I think that I think more Americans need to realize, especially more Black Americans need to realize that and understand that America has had its moments in time, but a lot of other places are going to start popping up. Like you said, the Saudi. Once Saudi kind of figures out they got to chill out
on some things,
so maybe want to come over there. Like, once you chill out on some things, then you're going to get more. And then UAE has opened that up, because every time I talk to somebody that has lived here for 10 years, 5 years, because I look at everybody like, how you?
I know, like 18 years. Bro. I keep running into people. I'm like, before the Khalifa was here?
Bro. Like, they were here when there was like 10 buildings.
Right.
And they were like,
we loved it.
Bro, and everything. And they said that because it has developed so fast, and they're like taking, like for example, the wellness and fitness industry.
Yes.
It's about 8 to 10 years old, max.
That's wild.
They're still doing things that, like, they're still at the very, very, very early stages of what it's going to be like, right? For the amount of fitness studios, yoga, and everybody's coming from all these different countries, which is amazing. It's an opportunity for everybody.
Yes.
Right, like, and then if Dubai keeps growing at this space, because if you drive down Sheikh Zayed Road, you could see every new complex that's coming, and this and this for 1% down, which is still 200,000, but that's fine. Like, that's cool, but you see all the development and the growth that's ultimately going to happen.
Yeah,
and why not be here? I think there's I want to say there's a Black lady. I don't know if she's from Texas, but she's one of the leaders in like commercial real estate.
Oh, Denise the broker?
Yeah.
Yes.
Came out here
doing amazing.
Wow.
Amazing work. Like, and she is single-handedly bringing over floods of Americans.
Killing. And it's just like, if we can have those opportunities, eventually, like, we have our own little niches, and like everywhere has like Chinatown and this and this and this and this and this. There's not really a little Black America, I guess. but it's developing. And I think with Abu Dhabi, there's a huge population of Black Americans there because of the military and different things like that.
Yeah.
It's possible. And I really love that Dubai welcomes other religions.
Yes. Yeah.
That's one thing I think people don't really understand.
Yeah.
Like, I love me some Jesus. I love me some God. And at the same time, it's never in a space where, because I'm in a Muslim country, that it feels like mine, there's a negative connotation to anybody else's religion or anything like that. Yeah. I think it's very it's very welcoming and opened in that space. And I've learned a lot about the Muslim religion that I never ever really thought I would have understood. And also just on random tangents, but America's what is perceived of the Middle East by Americans because of film culture and all of these different things is so interesting and so much of a one-sided argument.
It's a narrative that's pushed so that you are, again, in that bubble.
You're afraid.
Yes.
You're afraid of the Arab culture and everything. And they have been nothing but like open and nice and receiving and welcoming to us. And we've low key almost demonized them in our media and our movies and our context. And so now it's like seeing this, it's kind of giving you a different opinion on the world.
Exactly.
Also seeing a lot about America for what
When you're outside the bubble, right?
what it is,
Yeah.
and even the traumas associated with that.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, because it's interesting. It's so interesting you say that. We were just talking the other day about traveling again as a family, and the words literally spilled out of my mouth, but I had never phrased it before. And I said, we found our calm through traveling. And literally because we were undoing years and years of damage, of the notion of looking over our shoulder, being in survival mode. You don't know what thriving looks like being there.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn what it looks like to thrive in an environment that's foreign, that's not our home.
Yeah.
And that within itself is a very therapeutic kind of thing to go through. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. And it's I hate to say this about like the Caucasians, but even my relationship to white people, which is a different, like I have white friends and all things like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately how, when you go to a new space, you don't know how they're going to receive
you. Yes.
Right. So that was a big thing of like being with a lot of different cultures of like a lot more Russians, a lot more Germans, a lot of these different things, and understanding and having the dialogue and conversations and even the things that they're not aware of because everybody has a lot to say about Americans.
Yes.
Because of the media and the movies, and they feel like they connect with you more than you would ever know wherever they're from.
Right.
So it's always interesting, and it's a great thing to have that dialogue and realize that all of the things that we've been conditioned to understand, like our relationship with the police, our relationship with the Caucasian culture as a whole, how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
It's a lot of things that have been conditioned. And when you start to leave that was one of the bigger things in India of just kind of like realizing all the things that I'm holding on to that I didn't need to hold on to,
you.
Right? It's just like we're all carrying baggage. Like everybody who said it, bag lady.
Yep.
If you're carrying all that baggage, it's gonna make you heavier.
Yep.
And sometimes you just need to let some of the things go.
That's right.
So if you let them go, you can fly wherever you want to just with a carry-on.
Yeah.
But sometimes you gotta make your stops and pay extra money when you got all that baggage. So that's the easiest way to put it. But I think it's interesting because I always think now, like, how am I gonna raise my children? And it's like I could never go back to the regular.
Nope.
Like I could never imagine like having my kids in the high school or the junior high.
Nope.
The things that I grew up, because I wouldn't even want to like to pull them out of the world.
Yes.
Right. And ultimately to go into some system that has all these other things attached to it.
Yep.
And now it's like, I think about those things and I think about if I were to marry, would it be an American man? Would it be anybody? Like, would I have any of those? And like I said, what if it turns out better than you could ever imagine?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I mean, you're 100% right. Our kids are homeschooled. We did a lot of crazy things, though. It's not recommended for everyone. It's not recommended for everyone. But I mean, yes, if you have to, once you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah.
And it requires you to be a steward of that knowledge and make it applicable in your life, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right. So, man, I could talk to you for hours.
Right. Right.
I could talk to you for hours.
But yes, I do have to go. So yes.
So, final question. How does the healer find her calm?
And things that I like to do that makes me feel me. So whether it is, yoga. It's typically some type of aspect of me being sweaty for the most part. But I love doing yoga. I love training. I love being in the gym. I love those things where I can put my headphones on and just find my own space.
Yeah.
And just kind of be. In this industry, you give a lot of energy out.
Yep.
So if I'm training, I'm teaching, it's a lot of you taking my energy. And sometimes I have to take whatever negative energy you got and carry that with me.
Yeah.
And so if I can keep having my own practice, having my own space and my own, taking those little times for myself, that's when I find my calm. I've recently started writing in a journal. It's like a little everyday like desk planner thing. And
Yeah.
it just in the mornings and in the evenings, which has been amazing because then I'm able to really reflect on the day.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I do get busier and busier and busier, I need to have that moment.
Yeah.
So, cause then it's like, I say this phrase and people hate it out here. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
So something bad may happen. They'd be like, why would you do this to a baby? But something bad may happen, but it didn't ruin the entire day.
Correct.
Right. And so now it's like, and it lets me really sit out, plan out what I want to do today, of how much time I actually have in the day.
Yeah.
And those little moments where I'm able to just kind of have for myself and plan those things, that's what keeps my calm.
Yes.
Just not talking to everybody, not just being with myself in those, because you're always gonna have yourself.
Yes.
And if you can't do anything with yourself and you can't be alone, you're gonna have you got a lot of things you gotta work on.
Correct.
So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Being here.
We'll do this again.
Yeah, we gotta do this again. And then, but next time, have you give us some concepts and tips on breath work. I would love that. I would love that. So. This has been another episode of Find Your Calm, an amazing, fun-filled episode of Find Your Calm. We want to thank our sponsor, Decompression Realm, for the amazing gifts today. Learn about the Micro Moment Wellness Box and the offer that we have in the links below. And we will make sure that you have all the links to find Alicia Tillman online, to join her classes, learn more about her, and connect with her directly. We're out.